All right, guys, welcome back to round 4 of the GenCon 2022 Regional License Exam. We've got a very cool matchup for you guys today. A very water-based matchup, right?
Ooh, agreed.
Yes.
With a character I don't think we've ever seen on stream before.
Never before, of all time. All new, we have Ibarra Shiozaki, piloted by the wonderful Keenan Meadows, versus a very popular character on stream, Miss Froppy.
Correct.
Asui.
Yes.
What do you expect to see from this, Tam? Let's get into it.
I'm excited for Ryan Field playing Froppy to play some really explosive attacks, crazy big turns. Look like we're playing under the life symbol, which has been the new hotness. Season 1 water was amazing, but life has really been coming out in droves, and then it's okay. We're just gonna reset. We're gonna read a mulligan.
Maybe so. Or maybe our hand was just so cool. We just had to show Ryan how awesome it was.
Okay, so we're jumping into this game. We've got Ryan Field playing as Asui, getting a solid build 5, and then we've got Ibarra going to be coming in. Have you played much against Ibarra?
Yes, actually. I have a local player who is very hot on Ibarra. It's an extremely scary deck. Water is what we're looking at today, and of course, is her premier symbol. Any character that wants to play low attacks is definitely going to be on a symbol like water. Yeah, we have a extremely good looking build 6 hold 2 because we're a 7-handed.
Holy cow!
Ryan cards are awesome. Definitely matching the beauty of Ryan's build 5. But yeah, Ibarra. So obviously, looking for scary low attacks, water's going to be the way to go. Ice Storm, terrifying. Tongue Whip, terrifying. You have a lot of potent stuff. And of course, the way Ibarra damage pumps moves, saying this one gets -1, your next one gets +3.
Right.
Really good for chaining things like throws into each other, which of course water has like roughly 9 million of.
Yeah, when Ibarra got previewed, I gave her a lot of disrespect. I was not a fan of this character.
Really?
Yeah, I was just like, why? This is fine. There's not enough stuff. Yo, she's like the new Tokoyami 1 dot, honestly.
She actually is, yeah. She's like if you could play Tokoyami on the water symbol.
Right.
But just with a lot less cheating, right? You don't have nearly as much progressive hacking and things like that, but you also make up for that by being on the water symbol, right? You're not necessarily pressured to just go around killing people in one turn because you are the water symbol. Regardless of the fact that her character doesn't really have any defense other than, -1 on everything like Tokoyami does. You are just the water symbol, and your foundation base and a lot of your cards just leverage insane levels of defensive power, and so she can play a much longer game than someone like Tokoyami can.
Yeah, for sure. There's that, and like the reason I make the comparison, right, is we see characters like Tokoyami ignore some aspect of the card pool with that +3 to the check. Basically, my next one's free, right?
Right.
Well, that's what Ibarra says. My next low's free.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It's just as telegraphed. You play the action, you play the enhance. You say, oh, I get to pop this one off for free. Like they're incredibly similar, incredibly cool characters.
Yeah, a lot of interesting mechanics going on here. And right off the bat, we're seeing some pretty crazy stuff happening. Double Irrefutable, looking like it's going to come down to seal some foundations here. Looks like that Amphibious, that committed Amphibious is looking very sealed at the moment. Beautiful, cheerful uppercut block. Both of us are going to shove one in there.
Because of a tape, it's no longer going to be dealing damage.
Exactly. So very beautiful start. The fact that we not only had a build 7, but we had a tape into a cheerful uppercut turn 1 block is very powerful. Right. And with one Amphibious sealed, we're kind of telling Ryan Field to just stop right here. Just stop, calm down, relax, take a moment. Let me have my turn 2 in peace. You've got a card in your card pool that you cannot get rid of now. But we are proceeding to go with the Frog Lashing, and a beautiful Jack is going to make sure that we're not pressed about it. Interesting that we didn't commit some face downs, but I guess it's irrelevant since the Amphibious will ready itself. Kind of says that we're probably not planning on playing another move then, if we're readying our Amphibious now, right? Unless we have another Frog Lashing in hand, that would be kind of awesome. But either way, this is going to be a basically unblockable move. Coming in at 6 speed, doing a lot of dancing there with our life totals. Coming in at 6 speed, bringing Keenan all the way down to 11 health, unfortunately. Probably not where we thought we were going to end up, but regardless, still looking very good as far as the stage is concerned. Very ahead on foundations still. and shaping up to have a very, very good turn 2, whether or not he puts out a lot of damage or just gets more ahead in the staging area department.
For sure, 100%. So now we get to see how Ryan keeps the turn.
Yeah. The Crone Frog coming down here. Interesting that it got played after the Frog Lashing. I don't think there was any card draw implemented in the middle of it. So it seems, I don't know, it's still interesting sequencing, right? We ideally probably want to go Crow and Frog first, then Lashing, no progressive. But I guess it kind of evens out the same way either way. We just might have gotten a much more valuable ready 2 off of the Frog Lashing, right? But either way, the move is coming down and we're in this. So we're going to go ahead and kick our... we're actually just going for the kill. Now all of this makes a lot more sense, actually.
This does make a lot more sense.
Makes a lot more sense. We are actually just going for the turn 1 kill. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, everything's pretty much unblockable with the speed and with the 2 cards in Keenan's card pool. And us being Asui, it's very easy for us to just play through it all. We're going to check the 5, commit our 6, and stuff 1 more in, and it's pretty unblockable. So, yeah.
Actually crazy. Wow. Actually crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, showing you the power of Water Asui, right?
Yeah.
Water Asui being like, I found my 5-6 attacks on turn 2.
Mm-hmm.
I built enough foundations. I'm going to play everything out exactly how I want it to.
It's crazy that Ryan also could have checked 1 more 3 that turn and been fine.
Correct.
We did that 1 turn kill with 3 things ready by the end of it, 100%. Which is actually insane. Yeah, once again, just the power of Froppy. We said, I don't care that you have sealed 1 of my amphibious and stuffed an unmovable card in my card pool. I found the moves I needed and full blocked 1 thing perfectly. I found the moves I needed to continue to deal 19 damage after that, right. Through bad checks as well.
Funny, there's been a lot of contention of what to do about Asui. Is she a problem? Is she not? And the big fix that I've postulated is, let's just take the +2 speed off of the character card and let her continue.
Certainly would feel a lot more fair about that. There's honestly, Asui is a character that it's really just a testament to how strong Asui is as a character, that there's 4 or 5 changes you could make to the character that could all possibly bring her more in line.
Right.
Because there are just so many powerful aspects. I've seen people say, take the +2 speed off of everything. Make 1 enhance twice per turn. Make both enhance twice per turn. Make them both once per turn. Make them both your turn only. There are so many ways you can address the character. I'm personally a big fan of the your turn only. I think her being able to do everything is a little silly, but that's also kind of the identity of the character in some ways, and I don't want to ruin that. Asui as a character in the series, it's very much, hey, she's just pretty good at everything. She's good under pressure, she's good at blocking, she's good at attacking. She's a very, very jack of all trades, master of none character. Mm-hmm. The only issue is right now in the card game, she's kind of a master of all trades.
Right.
So regardless of what you think is the right thing, there's many ways that I think that I and a lot of other people think the character could be brought in line with.
Yeah. I want to point out, though, right, the +2 speed would not have stopped Ryan from doing that turn.
No,
and only your turn would not have stopped Ryan from doing that turn.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, so it is a delicate way to look at it.
Yeah. It is a very, very hard issue to tackle, which is possibly why we just haven't seen anything done for so much time.
Correct.
So
we're moving on. It looked like Keenan hit a huge sideboard, an absolutely massive one.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we're gonna see what these tech pieces come in and look like for fighting the frog, and it looks like we have a character change.
Absolutely.
To Kamui Woods.
Yep. Of course, the much more defensive character, probably a much better choice against Froppy. One of the strengths of Ibarra is that she can put out that Froppy-like attack string sometimes and really bring people down on turn 2. Tokugami style as well, right? We talked about all of that. Asui is a character that is really hard to do that against, especially the life build, the much more defensive healing life build. It's hard to get that level of aggression in early. So wanting to play a more mid-game focused defensive character like Kamui so you can survive those big turn 2 strings.
Correct.
It's a much better choice.
The only issue is you don't get that free attack, right? So your offensive play might be a little hampered, but if you never get to an offensive turn, then what was the point to begin with?
Exactly. If you don't get to play an attack, then Ibarra doesn't exactly do much.
Correct.
And that is kind of what we saw, unfortunately for Keenan Meadows here. But Keenan is a really, really good player, and I'm eager to see how he tries to turn this around. Meanwhile, Ryan Field is, obviously going to get to do that a little less effective, not being not being turn player, right? You're not getting your speed in there as fast. Keenan is going to have a bit more time to actually establish a staging area, build some foundations,
Right.
play the game,
True.
if you will.
Yeah.
And of course, just be on a much more defensive character.
Makes
right?
sense. Makes sense.
Even -1 damage or -2 damage with that one successful block on all of those moves would have made a world of difference as far as getting killed in the first turn of the game. In game one. Right?
Absolutely. And maybe honestly the thing is like maybe we survived if we didn't build 6 foundations. Maybe we kept one more and held like a decent enough block. Like that might have been like
it's hard to say. We didn't get to
done.
see what the other block in Keenan's hand that he held was.
Right.
But it's also a tough spot. It's a tough spot to be in, right?
Sure.
I mean, even with the thing about Asui is that even if you're holding more of those blocks, if you don't have a billion foundations, they're all so fast that it's more than likely you're not able to block that many moves anyway. Right?
Absolutely.
So we do see the 0 gotcha in Keenan's hand. So right away, that obviously can't fail. Right. What we were seeing is Keenan respecting the ready, set, go in Ryan Field's hand, and of course there it is. It was our first thing that we reviewed right there, right?
Right.
So and a nice, a beautiful build for that can't fail. At the same time, though, not the most impactful staging area Ryan could have.
Right.
It's not quite the double amphibious that we had in game one.
True.
So probably gonna have to see him play a much slower turn. Keenan, of course, understanding and respecting the power of the character still. A beautiful build for pass. Looks like we're holding. Looks like we've got an Ice Storm in hand potentially. Breaker 2 definitely helps to a certain extent. He's going to have a bit more defensive tools to play with. Double graceful maneuvers. Rescue completed. You have gotcha. You have an absurd level of speed reduction here. So I don't think Ryan is going to be able to go for quite the same tactics as he did in game one. Let's see how he changes it up. We don't change it up. Crow and Frog is our first move.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Like even if it's just a poke, we get the partial in. It's just making that goalpost a little bit closer.
Yeah, absolutely. But it actually looks like we have an ice wall in hand as well. So we're actually going to have that high block with Breaker 1 as well to stop this move. And then hope that there's not 30 damage coming after it. So we're committing Pass the Torch to draw a card, readying it with our Asui only, our Asui Tokoyami only enhance.
Correct.
Rather. Kind of shows that we're digging for things. Probably wants to get a...
We flipped tape to make it a mid, and then we committed Asui to get rid of it. We don't want to get Breaker 2 here.
Yeah.
We only have 2 ready foundations. We're going to build back out.
Yeah, we certainly don't
We
want to
said
get
commit our
Breaker 2
character
here.
to flip one of their foundations, and we don't have to worry about the Breaker.
Yeah, wow.
It's a heads-up play. Let's see if it works out,
That's
right?
a heads-up play for sure. That is certainly a heads-up play.
I loved the stunned silence we had. It was cool. It was cool.
Mm-hmm. That was a very, very mutual shock and awe, if you will. It's also possible we just go for a different attack here, right?
Another high. It is,
and what an attack to go for.
Well, probably one of the best in the entire game.
Oh, absolutely.
Some, if not most, would say.
Absolutely. I don't think there's a single great name in the Hero Academia Guardian community that has any ill opinion of the almighty Tongue Smack, honestly.
Correct.
Honestly. Anyone noteworthy, really, is a true fan and true lover of the Tongue Smack here.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
Absolutely.
And the big thing is we get to do kind of press the buttons that we want to as Asui, like playing the first enhance as the tape as opposed to playing the first enhance as Kamui means that we didn't get a chance to like use the ability a second time, right?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. So there goes down the ice wall with the Breaker 1, not mattering too much as we're just building in all of the spam foundations in our entire deck.
Yeah.
The double amphibious coming down, going to be relevant for the entirety of the game from here on out, especially if Keenan cannot find his irrefutable forces of nature again. So Ryan's staging area suddenly looking much, much better than it did a little bit ago. We got a ice wall out the hand. We got a tape flipped for really not much of a cost, all things considered.
Right.
So it's I don't know. It's honestly possible we see a third build turn from Keenan here. Doesn't look like we have nearly enough moves in the hand to think we're going to land any considerable damage here. So the plan from here on out might just be to seriously wall up. We have a Frog Lashing. we have a Tongue Whip, and we have an Ice Storm, which is a solid series of moves, but not ones that I'm sure can actually get there. Especially because they're also moves that we'd love to save for defense. A nice little sneak peek of our Shoto 2 buddy block in the main deck. I love that. I love that. This is this seems to be the Water and Friends deck right here.
Absolutely.
Almost very reminiscent of a lot of the water decks in set 1, right? Where you would start as Kamui and then slide into things like Todoroki and Asui and whatnot.
Makes sense. I love the idea of the build 3 pass. It kind of is setting up this defensive play, and we as Kamui Woods, we kind of have to wait for Asui to make the first push and do a bit of a backswing.
That's what it feels like, right? Although I don't know if we're going to get that chance, because it looks like we've got about 5 attacks in Keenan's hand right now, 2 of them being Frog Lashing. At the same time, though, right, if there's a single Faith Shield in the 5 cards in Asui's hand here, I mean, we have the equivalent of, what is that, 3, 6, 9... all the amphibious ready 12 foundations defensively,
right,
and the ability to kick out our progressive blocking difficulty. It's going to feel hard to land meaningful damage this turn, or rather any damage whatsoever, really. So let's kind of see how Keenan addresses that. You know, maybe he goes for the same luxurious build 2 pass as Ryan does. It just feels very hard to attack here. You know, that feels like everything that Ryan wants, right? Kind of like how we were talking about earlier. Right, it was a matter of where you build a very minimal amount, hold a bunch of blocks in his hand, in your hand, and then your opponent starts swinging at you. That is everything you do want. Keenan, absolutely understanding that, choosing to eat the humble pie and simply build 1 pass. At this point, it's gonna kind of come down to who can start putting out some threatening deadlocks first, more than likely.
I'm pretty sure the Life Asui deck just isn't playing any deadlock threats, and so I think that as Kamui we get to just play as much as we want. The reason we didn't build into deadlock is not because of the fear of deadlock, but because
you're holding all of our attacks.
We gotta hold all those blocks, right? Asui gets way more value out of her 5 attack hand than Kamui Woods does.
Yeah. And we actually did build into deadlock. We are 11 on Keenan's side, I believe. So once again, no deadlock on the board. We are fearing nothing. Generally with Asui, you're fearing things like First Villain Encounter and Ice Storm, but those are cards for the water build. Well, one of them is anyway. Those are for the water build. The other one simply isn't on the field right now.
Right.
So really, Keenan doesn't have a lot to fear in that regard. I think it is intelligent to build to your heart's content here. And then basically what we were saying on the inverse side of things, you build a very minimal amount, hold a bunch of blocks while you're sculpting attacks, and then your opponent starts attacking you. That is everything that you want.
Absolutely.
Asui is the monster that she is, but I would be very surprised to see 20 damage come down from Ryan through Keenan's current board.
Another kick from Ryan. We don't even opt to go to the block because he said that having that move also have stun 2 was just good enough.
Yeah.
Commit the 2 ice slidings, don't even get the additional -2 speed. We do get to keep the bonus cards in Kamui's hand, but this card, the Tongue Smack, letting us redraw is going to mitigate the fact that we had to ditch an attack to begin with.
Replenish our hand, of course. The Kamui coming down, of course, for -1 damage globally. At this point, though, I feel like your blocking power is so strong this turn. I feel like if I was Keenan in this position, I would really just be looking to commit Kamui for blocks and then ready him in response.
I think what we did is we actually committed Kamui for rescue completed.
Oh, okay.
-2 speed.
That makes a lot more sense because the Tongue Smack is still looking like a 6 damage move.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that certainly makes a lot more sense. Because as Keenan, your goal right now is block everything. We're not looking to Kamui the attacks down to small damage numbers we can take. We are simply looking to respond to all of Asui's aggression with blocks. So, of course, Faith Shield, proccing itself, flipping the Tongue Smack, no longer can be kicked out of our card pool, so very strong, of course, and raiding our Kamui in response. Once again, leveraging a very powerful defensive position here. And as much as we have all of these amphibious, in the grand scheme of things, we still have a pretty limited stage as far as how far we can go, as opposed to how far we need to go to fight and deal damage through Keenan's stage right now.
Correct.
It's a very, very, very defensive stage. I think we're gonna be in for a grinder on this one, all things considered.
Oh,
so
wow.
Speaking of relevant deadlock text, it's suddenly come down in the form of double observant student. Definitely one of the strongest deadlock pieces in the water and the life symbols, as long as you're on a character that can consistently activate it. I don't think there is one more consistent than Asui.
True.
So now can be kind of in a rough position for Keenan to be in. If you play defensively again on this turn now, you really open up Ryan to just have an insane attack turn with those double observant students.
Correct. Even being able to sculpt on Keenan's turn, when we block with a card, we kick it with Asui, and then I get to go and selectively pick up the best 2 attacks in my discard pile. Like
exactly.
That's incredible.
Or I get to go pick up whatever block zone I need. It's very strong.
Oh.
There's also a world where next turn Ryan can simply play a move, play a next move, kick the first one out, commit observant student, pick up a crow and frog, play the crow and frog, ready our observant student, essentially leveraging us to, if we have two, however many crow and frogs are in our discard pile, that many +1s to hand size.
Right.
So the ice wall coming down. At the same time, though, there's definitely, Keenan certainly has outset. We do have a rescue completed, so we do have a way to clear our deadlock. As long as we build no further foundations from this point onwards.
Correct.
Right? Save for things.
Sense.
Yeah, save for things that can also destroy themselves. So
opting to play the ability on Kamui now for +1s continuing for the rest of the turn, that is going to stack up pretty heavily, and we're getting attacks out of Asui's hand. So the big thing that I want to point out when it comes to the aggro Asui decks that we've had, especially with these life builds, the 22 attacks, 50 card deck kind of builds, it's real bad in blocking. Because we just check foundations or check attacks the whole way down.
This is super correct. Yeah, absolutely super correct. At the same time, though, on this next move, we're going to get to kick our Tongue Whip out of the pool, ready all 3 amphibious, and then still have a very strong stage. Not the check you wanted to see as Keenan here, but we are going to be able to bring up at least one of those because Frog Lashing is a card that exists and has abilities on it and does things. Lots of things.
Absolutely.
So Keenan, we obviously, as the viewers here, we can see the stuff packing in his hand right now. We know the other Frog Lashing exists. We know the Tongue Whip, I believe, exists. The Cheerful Uppercut exists, albeit without any momentum. Still a pretty big move. The Frog Kick block here is really huge for Ryan. We're going to be able to kick that out on the next one, respond, ready another one of our foundations. And at this point onwards, things have left our card pool, and we are still in deadlock on Keenan's side. So
right.
those observant students are being able to pick up whatever we want right now. The Keenan's first enhance here might need to be use rescue completed, get out of deadlock. Or those observant students are going to start picking up cards here. If Ryan needs that block zone, right? Or not even if he needs the block zone necessarily, if he just wants to start sculpting for next turn, right?
Right.
Because it's simply a commit cost, right? It's not going anywhere.
It also just depends on how we feel about what attacks we think are really lethal, right? Like
absolutely.
We readied up the passing torch and instantly pulled the trigger to draw the card, and he says, "I think that 7 damage is fine. I don't think you have more." And he's right. We certainly don't.
Absolutely right. Yeah, no, as Keenan, your mission there is that you more than likely cannot kill Asui. So the real goal is attack, and then eventually the threat of a future attack being unblockable, if this one is blocked, will get damage through, and then you can just stop there and be happy with your poke.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that's a fine goal, but technically we're in a slightly worse defensive posture. I think we only have 4 cards in our hand and Kamui to support us. So as much speedhead as we want on the board, literally every single card on Keenan's board has speedhead except for his character.
Actually, every single card on board, it's kind of crazy of a concept, really. So, we have 9 foundations, but we can go ahead and count the Ice Glidings as 2 each with speed reduction. We can go ahead and count the Surviving the Finals as 2 each with speed reduction.
Correct.
We can go ahead and count the Gracefuls as 3 each, asterisks. We have a pretty absurd level of speed reduction here. It's going to be hard for Ryan to get some moves in.
And that's even if we want to block most of these to begin with, right? Like we only necessarily have to block the later ones. We've got our momentum, and I'm pretty sure the reason we wanted that momentum so badly is just to have another giant ice wall.
Right.
So we've got a stun 4 coming in to really punish any amount of overextending.
Absolutely. Yeah, you are extremely correct in that aspect. For me right now, it feels like it's just going to be more of a matter of how many cards can we get out of Keenan's hand right now as Ryan. At the same time, though, if we are continuously using Kamui, by the time we get a move that Keenan doesn't possess a card to block with, it's going to have at least what it's going to have -5 damage on it.
Right.
So how far can we really go here, right? Are we going to spend 5 cards to get 1 move in and then just die on the backswing because we don't have cards? So I think from here on out, it's going to be a very interesting cat and mouse game, right? We're trying to force Keenan into a position where if he does block this one, worse things have a chance to take him to 0 later on. So we once again see the
Asui kick. We
see the Asui kick.
Block.
Yep. No blocks here. Simply kicking it right out of the card pool with Asui's enhance while we're still in the middle of the attack itself. Wow. So the Crone Frog is going to come in here, again, leveraging itself as a frightening move, but we're at least going to eat up some of the speed reduction, possibly, from Keenan. It is going to be made a mid with the tape there, is what it looks like. And I can only imagine the Ice Storm block is going to follow here.
That makes sense to me. It looks like we keep drawing additional cards. And I wonder if Brian is just like, I don't even realize he's got the deadlock on board, right? Because we keep drawing these cards from the top of our deck as opposed to we could have gone and picked that tongue whip back up, right?
Absolutely.
Stuff a second card in the card pool and like get this party really started. Then get rid of the Crow and Frog, play the Crow and Frog.
Exactly.
Go pick back up the
back up the Crow and Frog. Also enhanced, ready the observant student.
Right.
Commit it again.
Yeah.
Do insane things.
Grab some tongue whips. Like there's we could actually play 4 tongue whips this turn if we wanted to.
Yeah. There's a world where we can leverage 8, 9 attacks this turn.
And it looks like that's what that is the play.
There it is. Pick back up our tongue whip. Having to read the observant student. Yeah. Definitely not the card that gets used more often on it. But it is definitely one of the most potent deadlock pieces. All 3 of those symbols have.
Correct. So now from here, we gotta understand. Oh, love to see it.
Cheerful uppercut block going to be really huge here. Once again, another card into Ryan's card pool that he cannot clear. So going to put in a lot of work for the rest of the turn at this point. Readying Kamui in the process.
Once again, still keeping our vitality nice and high.
Yeah.
So how much can Ryan press if we check a little pour again, like so? Right. We now have to deal with the consequences of we only have 4 or 5 ready foundations, soon to be 6 with that last amphibious, but excuse me, I think we might have 2 ready amphibiouses over on the other side. Just kidding. We've got so many cards. We've got a million cards.
Yeah. We do have 2 ready amphibious sitting under the committed foundations. I believe they're all the way over there to signal that we've readied them already.
Correct.
I believe that
makes sense.
That is Ryan's style of making sure that we have already readied those amphibious. So at this point as Ryan, it feels like we're pretty caught in the middle here, right? It's very dangerous to continue further because one bad check ends the turn and probably leaves us in a losing position. But also, if we just build and then play to defend here, I don't know that we have enough foundations to stop an aggro that comes out of Keenan unless he simply draws very, very cold.
I mean, we've got 8 ready foundations, right? Like checking one more poor check we'd commit 3 at most. We'd have 5 ready. Mm-hmm. I mean, Asui's done worse with less.
Absolutely. I just don't think that between all the speed reduction and the cards in Keenan's hand and the Kamui responses stacking up, that there's going to be any meaningful damage gotten through, much less lethal. I mean, we've got a cheerful uppercut sitting there, right?
Right.
We've got, a -6 speed to a move on the next one. And then now we're about to get another card in our card pool that we cannot get rid of. So,
Yeah.
At this point, it is almost maybe worth swinging just to get the moves out of Keenan's hand. But of course, as Ryan, we don't know that he's holding on to all of these very cool attack cards.
What could get lethal though if we were Ryan? What do you think?
If we were Ryan,
Yeah. We've got 5 cards in our hand.
As many tongue whips as we could possibly play. But, that's only if they hit or if Keenan runs out of low blocks.
Right.
Right? So, it's very much not any kind of a guaranteed kill in the slightest. We simply don't really have the stage for something like that anymore. Between Crow and Frog and these observant students, we really can grab as many attacks as we need. We're just simply running out of stage.
Right.
And that's really just all because of these faith shields and these cheerful uppercuts putting these cards that we cannot touch in our card pool. Everyone's like, okay, well, yeah, Asui just draws as many attacks as she plays. And most of the time she does, except we have 2 permanent progressive difficulty when we're designed and have a deck built around playing with 0 progressive difficulty all of the time.
Right.
So it's actually a tough spot for Ryan to be in. All of these face down... All of these face down cards really putting the equalizing prospects onto Asui as a character here. Really shows how crazy the character can be, though, right? Even still going this hard.
Yeah.
In the current circumstances.
And the fact that there are tools to fight this character, right? Like Keenan, adapt or die. Truly, if there's a way to beat the character that Keenan is showcasing at the moment, I mean, Asui has played 5 moves and none of them have connected, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is showing how if you are a decent deck builder, you can kind of solve any problem in our game.
I agree. And I mean, we have what, -3 damage globally from Kamui at this point?
I think we've been using them all for rescue completeds. I think that's been the goal.
Oh, you think so?
Mm-hmm.
That very well may be the case. Looks like we're just eager to just simply leverage the cards in our hand to walk and say, hey, look, if you can play a 5th, 6th move, then you deserve it.
Right.
At this point, it's really just going to be a matter of, I feel like we're just praying to catch Kamui without the right zones here at this point. Because between all of the cards in Keenan's stage, I just don't know if anything is unblockable at this point.
That makes sense.
I mean, 4 cards in the card pool is 4 cards in the card pool, right?
Right.
But all of that just feels so strongly negated by the blocking power in Keenan's hand. Keenan just really proving what a masterful deck he's put together, obviously with this matchup in mind, and obviously with a lot of experience against this matchup. So it looks like the tape is coming down here, as well as the graceful maneuvers. Feels very safe to say this is getting Ice Storm blocked here.
That would make sense to me.
Pretty sure we're still hanging on to, or potentially Frog Lashing blocked, but I think we'd rather hold a Frog Lashing. Breaker 2 is better than Breaker 1. So, yeah, it looks like this is getting effortlessly blocked after, I think, -6 speed. It's
so if we have a
at -8 speed with rescue completed, yeah. So it's effectively on a 0.
If we have a Frog Lashing here and we check a 5, making it a 3, we commit the 2, right? 5, 6, 7. Checks a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then ready back up our 2 face downs.
It's possible. But at the same time, that doesn't present lethal damage.
Correct. Well, we could be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, it's just 10, huh?
Yeah, it's simply
maybe
not anywhere close to
11 off of Asui.
Yep. We have the face down foundations. However, they are just all very committed out at this point.
Right.
Again, we are running out of stage to reach those crazy damage numbers. I mean, look at this. Asui is so many attacks in, so many committed things in, and we're just still looking at a 20 health Kamui Woods. So the Frog coming in on a 7.
4, 5, 6. We've got
5, 6.
Yeah, we've got 2 face downs. Crow Frogs doesn't count. I mean, we did check a 3 because of how the breaker ability works. So
Correct.
We'll commit our 2 resources.
Actually, crazy to play an attack there through that breaker 2.
Yeah.
Actually, very, very, very insane.
Okay, so at this point, we might have to start using Kamui for Kamui.
Right.
And say, hey, I can't deal with what's going on here. Maybe it's time to start get rid of some of that damage. We've got 5 cards in our card pool currently, so blocking just kind of like isn't a thing anymore.
No, I don't think so. I mean, this is only a 4-speed attack, but we've got 5 things in our card pool, so kind of want to treat it like a 9-speed attack. Which with an ice sliding RSU completed, we can essentially negate our progressive difficulty on the blocks here. It's really just going to be a matter of what our block modifier looks like, but it looks like we might be going for it. Giving it the -2 speed, giving it the -2 speed, and then popping a ready 2, we're going for the block. I
love
here.
that. And it also gets us out of deadlock.
Yep.
So that if there's a cheeky way to utilize the observant student, it is now off the table.
Absolutely. Yeah, so this is a... Yes, this is... Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. It's a block going on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on...
And another breaker.
On a 0 damage move. Yeah. Because it was 4 speed, -4 from rescue and ice gliding. So essentially negating back down to a 0 speed move, and then blocking on a 6, checking a 5 commit for 6. Beautiful. We could have even checked a 3 there and been super fine. Insane defensive plays right here by Keenan. This is a blocking masterclass, honestly speaking, and just goes to show the defensive power of the water symbol.
And the fact that Keenan's not afraid to block with 3 attack cards. 3 of some of the best attack cards in the entire game, right?
100%.
They've all got breaker, but like these cards are really, really good at killing people. And so the idea, the fact that like Keenan has a chance to draw this heat back, like, utilize the resources that are available to you.
100%. 100%, yeah. I mean, as Ryan, we are getting key moves out of Keenan's hand here, but if he just draws new ones, it's going to be lights out for Asui. Not a foundation in sight for the most part.
Why did that card ready?
I'm not sure. I think we might have forgotten to ready one with Frog Kick when we kicked it.
I see.
And it just looks like we went back and did that real quick. So, Asui sitting at 13 health. What? Five attacks in, was that?
Correct.
Or I'm sorry, 6 attacks in, right? Because we blocked 5 things in Keenan.
Right.
Because we had 3 blocks, but we also blocked with 2 Faith Shields.
Right.
So 5 blocks, and then the other 3 were stuffed from things like Tongue Whip.
And it's looking like we've got
a lot of
citrus. We got some
schmoves in Keenan's hand right now. I don't know that there's a world where Asui survives this turn. So if I were Keenan, I would be gemming my moves and gemming my enhances as fast as I can right now, because I need to play a very honest long game 3 as well.
Right, correct.
Or else this is going to fall into tie territory, which is not what you want. Obviously better than a straight up loss, but if you have the ability to try and play for a straight up win, I think that's just always the case, because ties are just going to ruin your scoring.
I completely agree.
Absolutely going to destroy them. And it's probably one of the hardest things to keep in mind when playing in these big Hero Academia card game events, because our card game, we do a lot of things in it. It's a very, very long, stretched out game, sometimes for some of the decks. And obviously, in situations where Kamui is able to play the game Kamui wants to play, we're going to be here for a while.
Makes sense.
Very, very different type of game than the turn 2 Asui deck that Ryan is presenting here. But when it doesn't get to play how it wants, it doesn't get to play how it wants. So this is going to be, I think, a pretty easy cleanup for Keenan here. The double stuff on the Tongue Whips, these are all just going to get super lethal now with some Kamui enhances, and it's really going to be all she wrote for Ryan.
What an insane amount of good circumstances for Keenan to have literally 11 cards of speed hate in order to deal with Atsui's attacks in order to find it.
Absolutely. I mean, we were doing the math there and essentially equating his stage to what, about 18, 19 foundations worth of defense.
Right.
If we're tracking every speed reduction as an extra foundation for committal purposes. And we went through almost all of them, executing 5 blocks after stuffing 3 cards in our card pool as well.
Yeah.
Actually mental.
Yeah.
Again, the power of Kamui, the power of the water symbol. This is what this character and this symbol excels at doing.
So that's why Keenan won, right? Is all that speed hate. Why did Ryan lose?
Ryan, it was a hard position to be in, right? You have so many attacks in your hand, and it's a matter of he tried to break serve first, and he did it into the equivalent of a 20 foundation stage,
right?
Without the moves necessary to get there. He played his 6 attacks, and he passed through them all, and that was just never going to be 20 damage.
Correct.
There just wasn't a world where that was. So, was the move perhaps to have just continued to wait as Ryan and just build one pass again?
It's interesting because
it's the game of chicken, right?
We've got 50 cards in our Asui deck. The more that we build one pass, the less cards we're seeing, the more chances that Keenan would build out a third time, right?
Exactly.
It's like what happens? What happens whenever he doesn't have 11 foundations, 20 worth, but he actually has 20 foundations,
right?
30 worth, right? There's no way to break the wall, even if you do get to pick up every attack you want with Observer Student. It's just not happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And at that point in time, it almost becomes more of a matter of, well, as Ryan, you're one game up, but at the same time, this game 2 is not lasting nearly long enough to even think about playing for a timeout scenario there.
Right.
That's simply not a game that's going to last long enough, even if you're pushing the deck out angle, which you really can't even do as your, once again, 50-card Asui deck.
Correct.
I don't know how many cards are in Keenan's Ibarra/Kamui Woods deck, but I would leverage it a lot more than 50.
Maybe even not necessarily a lot, but it certainly didn't have the draw power that Ryan has, and he was drawing 2 or 3 cards extra a turn. He would actually go through a fifth of his deck every single turn,
right?
Over the course of just drawing cards, that not even necessarily checking. So it makes sense that on turn 4 he cycled.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So it was kind of a hard spot for Ryan to be in there. You could only really play that game of chicken for so long before you went and broke serve. And at the same time, if you simply play to your defensive outs, well, Ryan's stage simply wasn't nearly as defensive as Keenan's was. And it's probably suffice to say that if you let Keenan get to a similar level of attack turn, a 5, 6, even 7 attack turn like Ryan did, that actually has the potential to finish the game out, especially with Ryan at 13 health, not the full 20 like Kamui was. So tough spot to be in. Probably the only thing to keep in mind is don't let it get to that game state again.
So Keenan is obviously going to be playing on the back foot. He's got the mountain to climb, especially the mountain's going to get exponentially tall every amphibious we've opened as Ryan. What do you think has to happen for Keenan in order to take the second game? Right, Ryan is for sure the favorite in the matchup. He won the die roll.
I agree. I think as Keenan at this point, you just want to try and force a very similar game state as the previous one. Going to be a lot harder to do going second, right? Because honestly speaking, there's not any forces within Keenan's deck or the game itself to stop Asui from turn 2-ing him again.
Right.
If she draws the right attacks and checks the right foundations.
Yeah.
So that's almost a scenario you can't even worry about as much. Just focus on playing as defensively as you can. And if fate wills you to get turn 2'd by Asui, fate wills you to get turn 2'd by Asui.
Makes sense.
It's very Tokoyami style energy, right? Sometimes there's just not much you can do about those game states. Play to your outs as much as you can and hope that they exist in the first place.
Right.
But assuming that fate doesn't take the game out of Keenan's hands, a combination of fate and Ryan playing things correctly, right? Assuming the power of those two things combined aren't enough to take Keenan out.
Holy cow.
Whoa. Okay.
I think we might have found our miracle, huh?
Perhaps.
Okay.
Still a build 3 coming in.
No amphibious, only a build 3.
3 very, very minimally impactful zero to foundations.
Build 5, build 6 is Keenan with a good
right,
breaker,
yeah.
good Kamui, and I think we're money.
Yep, holding the tapes in hand as well.
Oh, that's so good.
Oh yeah, the Struggle with Studies is fantastic.
Struggle with Studies is the double we're down. We're so down. This is
absolutely. I mean, building them in this order accounts for rolling threes, right? Which unfortunately is what we found. So we only got to build 4. But double struggling with studies is going to allow us to leverage a lot of blocks if Ryan starts to get crazy with an attack turn here.
A little froggy, you would say.
A little froggy, you would say. Very, very prospect froggy. And it's going to be even harder to do that through tape and breaker too, right? It's just going to be even harder to do that.
I think if you don't poke here, you're gonna set yourself up for failure, just because it's gonna let Keenan re-ready up his character and really get things popping off. It is an interesting spot to be in, because like normally whenever you play the normal play patterns of my hero, it's like you build for a couple turns and then you play like a high impact game with playing a lot of enhances and whatever. But like we saw this with like All Might 2, like wanting to aggress on this turn too. Ryan is just like, how much stats can I toss out?
Right. Yeah. Of course. And so it looks like we went for, we went for the block on the 8, checking the 3, only 4 things to commit, so it's not happening. Crow and Frog doming us in the wooden face for a big chunk of damage. This is actually a pretty scary position now for Keenan to be in. We really needed that block to go off. We really need that block to go off there.
100%.
But unfortunately, the third 3 was on the top of our deck, and it's now giving Ryan an actually good window to get meaningful, if not lethal, damage in this turn.
It's certainly possible using the Floating Around Babies. Once again, another card that at time of release, people could not stand. Remove 3 cards for +1 damage. What are you thinking? Why would that even be like a thing you could do?
Yeah, but the fourth 3 being on top of Keenan's deck, making all of these damage pumps super duper juicy, because we just aren't getting to block attacks right now. We would live in such a different world of a game state right now if we were able to actually block any of these moves. A singular 5 check changes everything, right? We got that 5th build, or we got that first block, or that second block. But unfortunately, we're being denied all of those things right now, and Ryan is seeing everything he needs for the most part. You know, we're looking at double Crow and Frog, the tongue smack. At this point, one more move just kind of gets us there.
That is interesting. We could have pushed for lethal on this attack. 5, 6. I think we flipped. We should have flipped for the 1 damage, huh? I think this is actually a misplay if we survive.
Yeah, I agree.
The question you have now is, Keenan, is this ain't lethal? Do we block it? Do we bother? We've got a tape and a mid block.
We do. So we have a guaranteed block, potentially, right?
Yeah. We'll go to 1.
I mean, it makes sense.
That was a huge misplay from Ryan.
Yeah. On a 5, and we have a high block in hand, actually. Wow.
I don't think that was game. Actually, we could have let Ryan dig his own grave. We could have, if he decided to. Man, what an interesting. They're playing really fast. So what would have happened for sure, right? I can see myself in the future in a different timeline. Ryan stuffed the card pool by 1.
Stuffs it by 1, right?
And that's an unknown quantity,
right?
I could flip the struggling studies and pick that card up out of my card pool.
Right.
If it was a mid or a low, I blocked.
That's correct.
Yeah.
It would have been a 6-speed tongue whip, and if we found a block that we needed, right? Heck, even if we flipped tape and blocked with our desperate times, it's on a 9. We can check a 5, commit 4, right?
Yeah. I think we just played just slightly too quick for that to happen. An incredibly explosive showcase of what Asui can do.
Right.
And amazing tools to defend against it. Kamui was the perfect sideboard choice to take this frog down for that one game.
Yeah. Absolutely was, It's also possible that on that move, Ryan might have said, I'm not going to stuff 1. I'm just straight up sending it.
True.
Right? Not potentially give you something that you need. So I think that's probably what happened there. Because otherwise, we simply would perish to that tongue whip. But either way, we're like absolute perfection of defensive play on Keenan's part, right? That game 2 was, as I said, a masterclass in blocking and what Kamui and the water symbol can do together with a stage like that. And it is everything that he needed to survive as Ryan tried to go in. Unfortunately, as fate willed it, the aggression of Ryan came in with the turn 2 Asui deck, and the checks were simply not on Keenan's side to have any interaction whatsoever in that situation. Very unfortunate. We know Keenan is capable. We know his deck is capable. It's just under those circumstances, nothing he could do could have stopped that scenario where he perished in game 3.
But we're gonna get a word from Ryan and see what he thought about the game and how Keenan played and how the deck is. So we're gonna take 1 second and we'll be right back.
Welcome back, you guys. I'm Levi with Alliteration Gaming, and here I have with me Mr. Ryan Field, the winner of the exciting high-octane round that you just watched, where he took it down with Asui. Ryan, what's going through your head right now? What was that game like?
Man, is Kamui hard for Asui, but that game 1 was just like, okay, dude, did my job turn 2.
Right.
I fell into the, oh no, we're going to go to kind of the deadlock area game 2 with Kamui, and that's Kamui's home turf.
It is.
Keenan even said, it's like, I got to do what I wanted to do with that very incredible block string that everybody got to see.
Right. Yeah. No, that was fantastic. Executing 5 blocks through 3 cards stuffed in the card pool was absolutely crazy.
Yes.
He had an 11 foundation stage, but between all the speed reduction, it was like a 20 foundation stage.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe even more, depending on how the checks went. And of course, Kamui readying himself over and over and over and over again. That was absolutely the heyday that he wanted to play in. That you unfortunately, it was all about that game state manipulation, right?
Yep. Because it was actually the interesting thing where he was actually always using Mitt for -2 speed, and he was never not actually committing Kamui for minus damage, which was what I was actually usually fearing more. So I was like, I'm on game for this I'm on board for this game plan of just reducing speed, and hopefully I just get to kill you.
Right. Yeah, because it's like, well, if I can finally get to my 6th attack, it can hit you, and that is what happened. It's just unfortunately not doing 20 damage.
No, it's not the frog lashing we wanted.
No, it is not the lashing that was probably the only out to attempt to beat Kamui through that game state.
Yep.
But thankfully, game 1 and game 3, you were able to flip the script and play in your game state, right?
Yeah.
So tell me about your game state and tell me about this Asui deck that you've chosen to play and why you've chosen to play it.
I mainly chose to play it. Like, I played it the past 2 days on Thursday, Friday, and I'm like, you know what? I don't feel like playing Jiro, even though Jiro would be fun. Who doesn't love Home Run Comet?
Home Run Comet's awesome.
I have been a bit of a Fire Tokiyami stan in the past, and I'm like, I don't even want to do that. And I have done Chaos Chaco, which I actually do like, but I'm like, I'm just going to play Frog. Either I'm going to lose fast or win fast.
Yeah, I mean, understandably so, right? There's a lot to be said about having some time to think between rounds, some time to rest, recover, eat, drink, etc., etc., etc.
Oh yeah, no, you gotta stay hydrated. As you guys are definitely staying hydrated at this table.
yeah. Certainly, our sea of hydration is very, very, very prominent. Yeah. But yeah, those are all obviously very relevant factors when choosing a deck, and it's very understandable as opposed to taking something like Eraserhead, right, and playing every second of every round. Asui wins fast, loses fast. It's really hard to make egregious play mistakes on it.
You can definitely you can't actually make play mistakes. You commit things that are like, no wait, I've actually rated that twice already by something else, and now I'm actually dead in the water for any frog kicks or throwing frogs, things like that. So you can't actually do play mistakes as Asui. Like, it is pretty easy to do.
Right. Yeah. Certainly. This game is it's very, very vast. It's very, very deep, and no deck is really without anything like that. But regardless, you were able to pilot your Asui to victory, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of that. Do you have any shout-outs you'd like to give, Ryan? I know you're no stranger to these events, these streams. Obviously, what you're wearing now.
I have to shout out my good friend Sean O'Brien at Rochester CCG. He is actually currently demoing He's currently demoing at the booth with much love for the game because he loves this game so much.
So much.
But we got a whole lot of good players here. I've been talking with everybody over the weekend. Everybody's great in this. Everybody's always good to talk to. Like,
absolutely.
And everybody's like, yeah, Frog's okay. Like, we're going to see what happens for over the weekend.
Good. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the greatest things about these events, being able to come here and talk to all of these known players, these known entities, because they're all so friendly and so welcoming, and they really foster a fantastic community for us to exist, learn, and get better in. Wouldn't you agree, Ryan?
Oh, yes, yeah. Like, we are always hoping for people to be better. Like, it's like, yeah, just, come on, learn the games. Yeah, you do get beat a little, but it's like, You get there. You start getting it to click, and you're good.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming in here and talking to me, Ryan. I really enjoyed watching your games. You gave us a great show out there.
I mean, that's game 3 where I'm like 0-5. It's like, let's see what happens. I drew 5 attacks. Like
high octane, baby.
Octane.
Yeah, you definitely gave us some exciting stuff to watch, and I'm sure you'll give us more in the future if you continue to maintain your spot at these tippity top tables.
It's so hard,
right?
It's so hard.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for watching out there. Ryan, once again, thank you for coming on, man.
Yep,
this was a pleasure, and I can't wait to see more of you throughout this tournament, and I can't wait to show you guys some more crazy things we've got going on in the next round. Stay tuned, and let's get hyped.
Yes, hype. Hype, hype, hype.